Welcome. This is Michael DDA, and this is our Sabbath class. We always start with a review. Why be any different today, huh? Father, give us understandings. Teach us knowledge, but give us the understandings that we need to build more understandings in your word. Give me the wisdom that I need to communicate the subtleties of your word. We have learned so many lies. We need your wisdom. Please use my words today. We love you so much. All right. Last week, we only did chapter 25 and a pinch of 26. There's some key points that I wanted us to be aware of from last week. We were talking about men. Look at this. It starts out on verse 25, verse 1. If there is a dispute between men and they come to court, dispute between men. What kind of dispute are we talking about? Could there be a bar fight? Would that be a dispute that might bring you to court? How about someone stole my pig? Or stole my cow. No, we might have pigs. We just don't eat pigs. Yeah. How about someone took something that belonged to me? There's all kinds of things, reasons why men would go to court. How come it doesn't talk about women going to court? See, sometimes we have to ask ourselves why it doesn't say something else, don't we? Talking about two Enoshim, or no, talking about Enoshim. If there is a dispute between Enoshim. Well, going to court and all these things, it says he's going to justify the righteous man and condemn the wicked man. And then the wicked man is going to receive, then it shall be that the wicked man deserves to be beaten. Remember, we saw eye for an eye, tooth for tooth in many parts of Torah. And it's likely that the judge says, he knocked out his eye, he's going to get his eye knocked out. Wow. Sounds gruesome. Broke an arm, break his arm. Broke a rib, break his rib. This is part of the beating that we're talking about. Now, there may be certain times where he didn't harm the other man. So now lashes might be something that we would use. Give him a certain number of blows, and maybe it doesn't even say blows or lashes. I think lashes, but that might not be the case either. There's deeper understandings that we've got to get in Torah. The next thing we talked about that I thought was significant was this business about do not muzzle the ox. Do not muzzle the ox that treads out the grain. Remember, you can't turn that wheel. You can't strap on that yoke and turn that grinding stone all day long the way the ox can do that. He can do it, but he's got to be fed to do it. Well, I think it's very appropriate that Paul used this muzzling the ox business when he was talking about providing for those who can do things that you can't do. I see things and understand things that few people can see and understand. I spend my day, every day, studying the Word, teaching the word, doing what I can to promote the kingdom. Lately, I've been going to other sites and tagging other sites with some of my thoughts, things that will sow seed on those sites to bring them to my sites. Don't muzzle the ox. I can do things that most men can't. Help me help you. Help me help others. Please. Who else can teach some of the things that I've been able to show you in the Word? Very few. Most are going to lead you astray because they lack the fundamental differences. They don't know the difference between a ger and the Ezra. Man, you're blinded by that. You're not going to see anything in the Word anymore. It's going to lead you in ways that you should never go. Which is why we have women leaving their men because they want to follow Torah instead of their man. Oh, my goodness. No, ladies, you follow your man. He's the one that follows Torah. You need to do what you were created to do. Yehovah created the woman as the Etzer Kenegdo, the aid suitable to the man. You're his helper, bone of his bone, flesh of his flesh. He can't have a hand that goes and does its own thing. Come back here! No, it won't work. How did I get on that? Well, here's the next thing that was very significant. We talked about two brothers, two Aki, dwelling alone, two Akot, two brothers. Brothers. No, it just says brothers. It doesn't say two brothers. If brothers dwell together, one of them dies. Okay, he has a widow now. The one who died has a widow who did not give him seed. He didn't get any banim, no sons, not even one. He needs an heir to carry on his name. But this is not just any brothers. This is brothers who dwell together. I think we're talking about brothers who are dwelling in the same gate, on the same land. Got to keep it in the family. This is why it said, he shall not go to the stranger, the outsider. The dead man shall not be married to a Zor. Outside the family, outside the gates. Added words. Stranger, of course, was an added word. It's not talking about a stranger. They're not concerned about him being married to a ger. They're getting concerned about him being married to somebody outside the gates. Remember, the man who doesn't do it, I suggested last week, he's got a choice. It appears, at least in Deuteronomy here, it says in verse 7, but if a man does not want to take his brother's woman, then let his brother's woman go to the gate of the elders and say, gate of the elders, that we're talking about in the gates. Okay, we're in the gate. This is what we're talking about, not the family, the gate. The gate of the elders. And say, my husband refuses to raise up a name to his brother in Israel. He will not perform the duty of the husband's brother. Now, that was a whole another thing. He will not yamvam. That's what it says. He will not yamvam. Yamvam. Take his brother's wife. Remember, we're not talking about, I said brother's wife, his brother's woman. We're not talking about keeping her just long enough to produce a seed. We're talking about indefinitely. We're not going to take her, produce a seed, and then kick her out of the house. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about bringing her into our covering, our family. You might be married already. You're taking another woman. Now, Carrie and I watched the movie, what was the name of it? Loving Leah. And we watched it again this week. We watched it together. I got him interested in it. And so we went back and listened to it. And there's so much that Judaism puts on this. I just said, what if he's already married? Well, they said that it was a brother that had to be single. Because, see, well, they want to promote this idea, because that's politically correct. They want to promote this idea of if you've got a wife already or have a woman already, you can't have another woman. Well, that's not what we're talking about. That's not what it says. It doesn't say he must take another woman or take this woman if he doesn't have one already. That's not what it says, is it? No, and they didn't dwell together. Not at all. They were miles apart. So there's things in here that we have to understand. But Carrie made the suggestion. Remember, I guess I got to keep on the story first. Carrie made the suggestion that the man that will not perform the yambam, he will not yambam. Then she's going to take off his shoe and spit in his face, and he's going to be known as this man. And his name shall be called in Israel the house of him who had his sandal removed. Okay? It sounds like we have a choice. Not doing the positive choice is probably going to create some blemish on our names. But is it sin? Carrie suggested to me that it might be sin. And, he used the example of, well, here. He used the example of Onan. Remember Judah, Tamar, Onan? Let's go there. I want to just read this to you. Is it a sin to not take your brother's wife? I don't think it is. But there is a sin here. There is something here that I think we need to take seriously. Look what it says here. I'll start at 7. But Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of Yehovah. And Yehovah killed. That's what's going on here. And Yehovah killed. There we go. And Yehovah killed him. And Judah said to Onan, go in to your brother's woman, and Baal her, and raise an heir to your brother. But Onan knew that the heir would not be his. And it came to pass, when he went to his brother's woman, that he emitted on the ground, lest he should give an heir to his brother. This is exactly what I was talking about last week. We might choose. He didn't want to have an heir to the brother. Why would he not want to have an heir to the brother? Is it possible because he's going to get the double portion instead of his brother's heir getting the double portion when his father dies? I think that's what it was. But here's a man that took his brother's wife, laid with his brother's wife, but didn't produce a seed. I think that's the sin. Taking the brother's wife and not producing the seed is the sin. Saying you don't want to take your brother's wife is just going to give you a bad name. But taking her and not producing a seed for her, I mean, it's one thing if it's seed, you don't get a seed. Okay, we didn't get a seed. We tried, we didn't get a seed. Can't do anything about that. But taking her and putting a seed on the ground, now That's another problem, isn't it? No, I don't think spilling seeds is a sin necessarily. Where do we get that? I think that is. I think that's an idea that we have got from our Christian understandings, John. But I don't see that in Torah at all. We talked about it last week. If a man has a wet dream, I remember an occurrence in the nights, the euphemism for that. He's unclean until morning. He had to get out of the camp because he didn't want to pollute the camp where Yehovah was dwelling when we were going to war. No, it was nothing about sin. It was about, no, I don't even think, again, John, where do we get even that idea? John says intentional spilling. Well, show me that in Torah. I don't see that in Torah. But if we were supposed to get a woman pregnant, that would be the problem. Okay, so that was another thing that I talked about, and that's why in this verse, let me go back to it. I put, it seems there's a difference between a man who does not take her, the woman, the brother's woman, the dead brother's woman, and the man who takes her but does not raise a son. The latter was killed by Yehovah. I think that's the difference. John, really what you're talking about is masturbation. That's what we're talking about. Intentional spilling of the seed. Isn't that what we're talking about? Okay. Show me that in Torah. Is there masturbation in Torah? Is that a sin? That is something that we have been taught is wrong. But where is that in Torah? You go through Leviticus 18. All the sexual sins, it's not there. There's lots of things that we have assumed are wrong, mainly because of things that we have learned from New Testament understandings. But I'm here to tell you that's not a sin. Yehovah never says something like that. Intentional or not? Well, show me the evidence. You know, that's all you can do. Show me the evidence and we'll take a look at it again. I've never found it. Can't find it anywhere. Next thing we talked about. Differing weights, measures, Amalek. I don't even want to go into too much of this. Before I continue, we did start 26. We got through the first 12 verses of Deuteronomy 26. But before I go there, I want to discuss with you something I've been thinking about this morning. It has to do with what is Torah. We've seen, particularly in Deuteronomy, problems. Deuteronomy 12, Deuteronomy 14, 15, 16, 22 or 23, and now in 26, we're going to see more problems. What's going on in Deuteronomy? Why are we seeing so many things that don't agree with the rest of Torah? Why is there differences? I was pondering this morning, and I had a thought. And I've mentioned it in the past, but I'm going to suggest, and I'm not even saying this is true, okay? So don't go, well, Michael doesn't believe. Oh, geez. Michael suggested, okay? This is what I'm suggesting. This is not what I believe. This is what I'm suggesting in light of the things that we're seeing in Deuteronomy. We've seen problems. We've seen problems in all of Torah. There's mistakes in Torah, in the Hebrew. But Deuteronomy is profound perversions from what we have learned and accepted as true, from what we've seen in Yehovah's statutes and judgments and ordinances. I'm going to suggest, okay, this is what you do. You tell them what you're going to teach them, then you teach them, then you tell them what you told them. This is what you got to do. I'm talking to Carrie. I got to try to remember to talk to you. It's just harder when I've got a living, breathing person next to me. So here's what I want to do. I want to go to the first chapter of the book of Exodus. I have a note there that I want you to see that I think is very important. How do I begin this? Here, let's begin right here. I want to go to the interlinear. See this Vav? Right there. Vav. It says, and these. The word is Elah. Elah. And these. Va'elah is what we're talking about. Here it is right here. Va'elah. Shemot. B'nai Israel. These are the names of Israel's seed. Va'elah. This va is telling us that there's more. It's being continued from the last book. We have Genesis, started out Bereshit, in the beginning. Then it says Va'elah. And these are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt with Jacob. Then the next book, here it is, let's go there, Leviticus 1. It starts out like this. Va'kara, Va'kara, here it is, Va'ikra, Va'ikra, Va'ikra. But it's got that Vav attached to it. Okay, it's a continuing of the story, the Vav. Here, I'll talk about the Vav here for just a second. Okay, here we go. The Vav. We should note another interesting pattern that appears in these opening sentences. Note that the opening sentences of the first and the last books start with consonants, other than the letter Vav. Well, the middle book all begins with the letter Vav. See, this is what I learned, Doctrines and Traditions of Men. They said Bereshit and Deuteronomy are the two book covers. And these Vavs attach the chapters to the book. Let me continue reading. In this pattern, we see a picture of the Torah that can be likened unto a book. Okay, I just heard this and I accepted it as truth. Well, you know what? You got to engage your mind. We got to think logically about this. In this pattern, we see a picture of the Torah that can be likened unto a book. The first and the last books of the Torah serve as the cover. Well, the middle three books are the pages bound to the cover by the letter Vav. Let us also note here that the Hebrew letter Vav is, in the ancient Hebrew ideograph, is a picture of a nail or a hook. Oh, here, I'm going to keep this moving down or you won't be able to see it. Here we are in a hook. When prefixed to a word, as in the examples above, the letter Vav serves as a conjunction. And therefore, we see from this pattern that the three middle books of the Torah as the pages which are nailed or bound to the cover of the book. In the case of the book Vayikra, this connection is no small matter. Well, so we've got something that's going to bring these things together. But, when I heard this, I thought, well, that sounds fine and dandy, but why then does not the cover, Deuteronomy, have a Vav with it? I mean, wouldn't it make sense? I've never heard of a book that didn't have a Vav connected to it. The Vav is connected to Genesis because it's continuation from Genesis. Then it's a continuation. But there's not a Vav for Deuteronomy. How come there's not a Vav for Deuteronomy? Well, I started looking at this a little bit more carefully this morning, and look what I found. Here is Leviticus, Vayikra. And this is the Va. He called to Moses, who's he, Yehovah, called to Moses, and spake Yehovah to him. So here's Yehovah speaking to Moses. Then the very next chapter, Numbers. What does it say? Vadaver. Yehovah el Moshe ben Navar, Sinai. And spake Yehovah to Moses. Who's speaking in both of these books? Moses speaking to, Yehovah speaking to Moses. Do you see it? Now, I think it's very interesting that Deuteronomy and Exodus start with the same word. These are the words. These are the names. But Deuteronomy doesn't have the Va, Elah. It has Elah, Hadevarim. What am I suggesting to you? Look what it says. These are the words which Moses spake. Not Yehovah spake. Look what it says. This is Vayikra, Leviticus 1:1. And he called to Moses. Yehovah called to Moses and spake Yehovah to him from the tent of meetings. Numbers. And spake Yehovah to Moses. Deuteronomy. These are the words which Moses spake. You see what's going on here? In Deuteronomy 4 says that we're not to add or subtract to all these words. Which words is it that we're talking about? I tend to think that he was talking about Deuteronomy as well. But that was before I began to see so many problems with Deuteronomy. We've got to reconcile these things. We're getting ready to talk about this third-year tithe. Where in the world does a third-year tithe come from? He never taught us about a third-year tithe. It's contradictory to what we have learned. And he's not saying add another third-year tithe. What's going on here? Well, let me continue reading because I think there's some interesting stuff here that I found that I wanted to share with you. I guess I got to start reading here. There are many biblical scholars who hold to what is known as the documentary theory. You know, where in the Torah does it say there's 5 books? We assume there's 5 books, don't we? But where do we get this idea from? Well, Sheila, you're understanding what I'm saying. See, Sheila's asking me, so are you kind of suggesting? Remember, that's what I'm doing. I'm suggesting. Okay? I'm suggesting. I think I'm making a case for it, but it's still a suggestion. So are you kind of suggesting that the Torah may technically be the first 4 books? Because Moses is speaking in Deuteronomy rather than Yehovah. Yes, that is what I'm saying. Very infrequently in Torah does it say, speak to Israel's son and say to them. Hardly uses Israel's seed, and say to them. He always talks about Yehovah, your Elohim, Yehovah, my Elohim, Yehovah, our Elohim. But this is Moses' words that are speaking. There's a different sense of the information that's being given to us. Can I say it like that? And remember, all this information is primarily about things after we're in the land. We're not in the land right now. Now, fortunately for me, when the 144,000 are raised up, he says, when Yehovah brings back Zion, his watchmen will all see eye to eye. Okay, we're going to know some of these things. Right now, we don't have a tithe. We don't have land. You can't tithe from your land if you don't have any land given to you by Yehovah. That's why you tithe to Yehovah. That's why you bring it to Yehovah. That 10th is because he's the one who provided the increase. He's of the land and the increase of the flock. So tithing is really not on us right now. We don't have any land. You say, well, I've got land. No, you don't. You're paying taxes on that land. It's not your land. The land that Yehovah is going to give to us is land that is ours permanently. Even if we sell it, we're still going to get it back in 50 years or less. It's our land. You don't have anything like that. And the tithe that we bring from our land is what Yehovah has blessed us with. And when we bring it to him, who does it go to? Well, we saw, and we'll probably see it again today, that it's going to go to the priests and the Levites. Remember, Israel's seed tithes to the Levites, and the Levites tithe to the priests. The Levites don't have any land, and so Yehovah provides for them. Well, so now in 24, I believe it was, we were talking about, or maybe 23, we were talking about giving the tithe to the, no, I guess it was 14. I forget when it was. We were talking about giving the tithe to eat in our own gates. In Deuteronomy, instead of giving it to the Levites, we're going to eat it in our own gates. Well, that was like 12, 14, 15 right in there. Well, now we're talking about this 3rd-year tithe. Oh my goodness, it gets ridiculous. So let me read this to you. There are many biblical scholars who hold to what is known as the documentary theory. This theory teaches that Torah was not received by Moses at Mount Sinai, but was put together by many authors and editors over a long period of time. It is taught that various independent traditions were preserved and recorded by varying groups, and at a latter date artistically edited together by others. These scholars teach that one group used the name Yahweh or Yehovah. The other, the name Elohim. Well, this is what we're seeing even now. We're seeing differences. I want to show you something in just a moment. No, I'm going to show it to you right now. Look at this. This is just a broad. This don't say, well, there's actually 25 times, not 23 times. I don't want to hear that. You know what? There's Yehovah, thy Elohim. There's the Yehovah, your Elohim. There's Yehovah, my Elohim. Yeah, it gets confusing because it depends on how you count it. But here's just some broad layout of things that I saw. B'nai Israel compared to Yehovah, your Elohim. They're the same group. They're the same group. If it says Yehovah, your Elohim, you know who he's talking to, the Ezra men. When it says B'nai Israel, we're talking to Israel's seed. Again, the Ezra men. But look at this. B'nai Israel, it does use it a few times in Genesis. But Yehovah, your Elohim, doesn't use it at all. Exodus, 117 times versus 23 times. 51 times versus 24 times. 55 times versus 3 times. Now, all of a sudden, we have a complete reversal from the book of Numbers. Now we have 18 times in Deuteronomy and 251 times for Yehovah, your Elohim. Do you see a difference in the writing, the words? Because Yehovah is speaking to Israel's seed in Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. But now all of a sudden it's Moses speaking to Yehovah, thy Elohim. Or Yehovah, your Elohim. Usually it's thy, the singular. Well, again, this is more evidence that is why I'm even bringing this topic up. We've got problems that we're seeing in our Father's words, and we've got to reconcile those problems. Let me continue reading here. Artistically put together, let me slide this up so I don't get it in for when I do my editing. These scholars teach that one group used the name Yahweh or Yehovah, while yet another group used the name Elohim. It is taught that a priestly group from the times of the temple codified the temple services and wrote the priestly material, including large portions of Leviticus, and that the Deuteronomists redacted the whole book together into a cohesive package we have today. This theory is usually referred to by the initials JEPD, which stands for Jehovahist, Elohist, Priestly, Deuteronomist. While this theory may at first seem to have merit, careful study provides a great deal of evidence to refute it. One such piece of evidence is the fact that our portion begins with the letter Vav. Okay? That's the point I'm making. I think that's a valid point. Okay? The ones that are starting with the letter Vav, but this doesn't work for saying it's a book cover, does it? Because the Deuteronomy doesn't have the Vav. It's not Va'ala, it's Allah. One piece of evidence is the fact that our portion begins with the letter Vav, or the conjunction, and. It should be clear that the very opening words of our portion in the book of Leviticus was not written separately from the book of Exodus. I think that makes perfect sense. The two are, in fact, one continuous narrative. The words "and" as a conjunction serve to bind the two words, objects, or phrases together. We've seen it over and over and over and over in Torah. It makes perfect sense. Such as soup and sandwiches, love and marriage, black and white. You can't have one without the other. For our portion to begin with the word "and" implies that it is directly tied to that which precedes it. Okay, so I think that makes perfect sense. In my mind, Vav is a continuation. But Deuteronomy doesn't have the Vav. It's outside. And I think we need to look at it as, oh, Father, please forgive me. Commentary? Commentary? Is it possible that it's commentary? Again, we're going to know when Yehovah brings back Zion. His watchmen will all see eye to eye. We're going to know what it's going to be like in the millennial kingdom. But we're not there yet. I think we're close. I think he's preparing us. But we're not there yet. So, with that in mind, let me now begin 26. I want to just continue with our review. I know this is a long review, but I think this is important things that we've just got to talk about today. It's almost 45 minutes into my lesson today, but we've got to talk about these issues. I know I've mentioned them before, but there's more to be seen, and we got to deal with these problems that we're finding. Let's go to 26 of Deuteronomy. Here it is. We talked about some really wonderful stuff. I really like the first 11 or 12 verses of Deuteronomy. Oh, very good, Sheila. Sheila said a really interesting comment. It says, she wrote, it illustrates the point that we must use Torah to translate Torah. Yehovah will not contradict himself. Sheila, thank you for that kind heart that you have. Discerning heart. We have to use Torah to interpret Torah. You know, my point was, where is these ideas coming from? That the first 5 books of the Bible, right? The Bible is Torah. Where does that come from? Where do we get that? Where does he say that? We have simply made that assumption. But is that the case? When Moses is saying to keep all the commandments and statutes statutes and judgments and ordinances of Yehovah, which I teach you, which ones is he talking about? The ones who came from the first 4 books? Because all of a sudden we're almost a different person writing it. It's from a different perspective, isn't it? It's the words of Moses, not the words that Yehovah spoke to Moses. Well, I think that says something. So, but look at how this starts. This is really a wonderful start, talking about, and it shall be when you come into the land, which Yehovah your Elohim, there it is right there, Yehovah your Elohim, is giving you as an inheritance, and you possess it and dwell in it. Who's the you? The you is the men, the Ezra men. And so then it talks about bringing the first fruits to Yehovah. Oh, so beautiful that we're seeing how we're supposed to bring the first fruits and what we're going to say when we get there. I declare today that Yehovah, my Elohim, that I have come to the country that Yehovah swore to our fathers to give us. Oh, I can't wait to be able to say that about the first fruits from my land. And to remember, my father was a Syrian, about to perish. Who are we talking about? I think we're talking about Abraham. He went down to Egypt and dwelt there, few in numbers. And there he became a nation, great, mighty, populous. This is all about remembering where we came from and being thankful for what Yehovah has done for us in giving us the land that he has given to us. It's beautiful. But, so then we went through this. Great. You can read it. Listen to it last week. I put a nice video together for it. And he finishes, and I think it's all about remembering that what Yehovah says, Yehovah's going to do. Now behold, I have brought the first fruits of the land which you, Yehovah, have given me. Thank you, Father. He says, you shall rejoice in every good thing. This is verse 11, which Yehovah your Elohim has given to you and your house. And the Levites and the stranger who dwell among you. Okay, we got some confusion starting to go in here. Now we're talking about Levites dwelling among us. You never see that in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, or Numbers. Well, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, you don't see that. It's not about the Levite dwelling with you. Well, now the problem begins. And here it is, Deuteronomy 26:12. When you have finished laying aside all the tithe of your increase in the third year, the year of tithing. What? What? Where is this in Torah? Are we having something new all of a sudden? Listen to what it says. The year of tithing, and have given it to the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, so that they may eat within your gates and be filled. Where is that in Torah? Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. Who gets the tithe? Now all of a sudden the tithe that's supposed to go to Levi is being given to the stranger and the fatherless and the widows? And what third year are we talking about? Is this every third year? Is this the third year of every 7? So out of 7 years, well, remember 6 years, because there is no tithe in the 7th year because we have the land is resting. So Levi doesn't get a tithe. The tithe that the Levite got in the 6th year has got to take him through the 7th year, just like it's going to take us through the 7th year. But now all of a sudden we're going to give it to the widows and the fatherless and the stranger, the ger. No, that's not what Yehovah said in Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. So are we saying that we're going to give our tithe to the Levite all the other years, but in the 3rd year, we're not going to give it to the Levite. We're going to make him share it with everybody else. So here's what it seems to be suggesting, that we're going to give the Levite the tithe, but in this mysterious 3rd year, which we don't know if it's every 3rd year or the 3rd year of the first 7 or of every 7, we don't know. We're going to give it to somebody else. We're going to keep it stored up in our warehouse and dispense it to the Levite and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow as need arises. We already saw that didn't work. If you listen to my teaching on Deuteronomy 14:28, we talked about this 3rd year. This is the 2nd time it's been mentioned in Deuteronomy, but we never hear about a 3rd year tithe in Exodus, Leviticus, or Numbers. What is going on? If we're going to talk about a 3rd year tithe and it's going to be something in addition to what we give the Levites, wouldn't Yehovah say, you shall also give in the 3rd year? Wouldn't there be more information? Now again, remember, we don't have a tithe. We don't have land right now. It's not an issue. And by the time it becomes an issue, well, then we'll know more, won't we? Look what it says about the tithe. This is Numbers. Who gets the tithe? You know what? I'm going to go there, 24 through 28. We talked about this last week, but you got to see this. You got to understand this. For the tithe of Israel's seed, which ye shall offer as a heave offering to Yehovah. This is something that's coming to Yehovah. I have given it to the Levites as an inheritance. The tithe, the tenth that we bring from the increase of our land, the increase of our flocks, is going to go to the Levites as an inheritance. For I have said, among Israel's seed, they shall have no inheritance. The Levites don't have an inheritance among Israel's seed. They don't have time to work the land. They're busy teaching. Sounds like somebody I know. They have no inheritance. Then Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, speak thus to the Levites. So here he spoke to the Israel's son, telling the Israel's son they're going to give their tithe to the Levites. Now he's speaking to the Levites and say to them, when you take from Israel's seed the tithe which I have given you, Levites, from them as your inheritance, thy inheritance, then you shall offer up a heave offering to Yehovah, a tenth of the tithe. And your heave offering shall be reckoned to you as though it were the grain of the threshing floor, and the fullness of the winepress. And you shall offer up a heave offering. This is the Levites now are going to offer up a heave offering, a present. It's a present. Okay, they say heave offering, it's a present. Offer up a present to Yehovah from your tithes. So we're now going to give a tenth. The Levites are going to give a tenth, a present to Yehovah. Remember, you can't give it to Yehovah, so you give it to his employees, his anointed ones. They represent him. Thus you shall offer the present of Yehovah from your tithes, thy tithes, which thou received from Israel's seed, and you shall give it to Yehovah. Give the present to Yehovah from it to Aaron the priest. So we're going to give it to the priests. This is Aaron the priest. I think we're talking about giving it to all the priests. Of all your gifts, you shall offer every heave offering due to Yehovah. Every present, all your gifts, you shall offer every present due to Yehovah. Okay, so we're going to give a tithe. The tithe comes to us, then the tithe goes to them. Okay, that's in agreement with all of Torah, except for Deuteronomy. So now we got this problem in Deuteronomy. Let's go back to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 26, verse 12. Here we are. I put, are these scriptures in Deuteronomy more perversions? Well, listen to what it says. So here we're talking about giving the tithe that's supposed to be going to the Levites. He says, I've given it to the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, so that they may eat within your gates and be filled. 1 year out of 7. It just doesn't make sense, folks. Then you shall say before Yehovah your Elohim, I have removed the holy tithe from my house. Oh, listen to what this says. Oh my gosh. And have also given it to the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow according to your commandments, which you have commanded me. Oh, where did he command that? It says, which you have commanded me. I have not transgressed your commandments, nor have I forgotten them. Okay, this is followed by what was so wonderful up above about giving our first fruits. Now we've got pollution, and it gets worse. First, let me read in my note here for 13. According to your commandments, which you have given me, where does Yehovah ever command that the tithe be given to the widow and the fatherless and the ger? Where? Deuteronomy. That's the only place. It contradicts what he tells us to do in other places. Remember, it's all about understanding Torah in light of Torah. Where does Yehovah ever command the tithe to be given to the widow or the fatherless or the ger? He doesn't. But it gets worse. Look what it says now in 26:14. Here's what we're supposed to say. I have not eaten any of it when in mourning. Mourning? Mourning, grieving. That's what we're talking about, grieving, mourning. I have not eaten any of it in mourning, nor have I removed any of it for an unclean use. How do you use the tithe for an unclean use? I have not given any of it for the dead. Folks, where does Yehovah ever talk like this? Show me someplace where Yehovah talks like this. I put, when does Yehovah ever talk like this? Are these his words? Not eating any of it when in mourning? What? Removed any of it for unclean use? Huh? Given any of it for the dead? Folks, how do you spell perversion? This is a perversion in the word of Yehovah. There's something going on here that does not jive. My daddy does not talk like this. And the Creator doesn't use these kind of concepts. These are out of nowhere. They are, dare I say, fabrication. Where are these things coming from? Well, he continues. 15. Look down from your holy habitation, from heaven, and bless your people, Israel. And the land which you have given us, just as you swore to our fathers, a land flowing with milk and honey. No problem there. It's total agreement with the rest of the word. But this whole business about the third year tithe, we've got major problems. He continues, this day Yehovah thy Elohim commanded thee to observe these statutes and judgments. Therefore you shall be careful to observe them with all your heart and with all your soul. What commandments and statutes are we talking about? The ones that Yehovah spoke to us through Moses, or the ones that Moses seems to be creating out of nowhere? Well, that sounds mean. But where did those last three things come from? Today you have proclaimed that Yehovah to be your Elohim, and that you will walk in his ways, keep his statutes, his commandments, his judgments, and that you will obey his voice. Also today, Yehovah has proclaimed you to be his special people. Who's he talking about? He's talking about the ones who call Yehovah their Elohim. He's talking about the Ezra men. Ladies, you can be a special people if you belong to the Ezra man. The family can be a special family if they belong to the Ezra man. Even the servant can be a special servant if he belongs to the Ezra man. Here. A special people. A people. Here. It says, to him, this says to him right here, to him, people, special is the word segula, a segula people, to him, a segula people to him. Remember, we talked about who's the segula people. We saw it in Exodus 19. It is the ones who call themselves, who is B'nai Israel, Israel's seed. Men, the ones he gave the commandments to, the ones he's in covenant with, the ones who circumcised themselves, No, who left the kingdom of their birth and then became his people, and then at Passover circumcised themselves and came in covenant with him. That's the Segula people that he's talking about. Men! His own unique treasure. These are some ways that other translations translated this words above. I translated as a special people, his Segula people. A people for his treasured possession, his people, a special treasure, his people, a treasured possession, all different ways that translators translate this particular three words. To him, Segula. Special treasure to him. And that he will set you high above the nations. Who is he setting high above the nations? You, the special people. You, maybe I should put this in the same yellow, because the you that we're talking about, the you that we've been talking about that owns the land, the you that has the covenant with Yehovah is who? The ones who call Yehovah thy Elohim. The ones who are Israel's seed, B'nai Israel. I'm going to read from 18 again. Also today, Yehovah has proclaimed you to be his special people, just as he promised you. I missed a couple, didn't I? Just as he promised you, that you should keep all his commandments, and that he will set you high above all nations. Israel is separate from all the nations. They aren't numbered among the nations. They dwell alone. You're not Israel if you're still dwelling among the other nations. He has set you high above all nations, which he has made in praise, in name, and in glory, that thou may be holy to Yehovah, thy Elohim, just as he has spoken. He's talking to the Ezra men. They are the plural he. They are the male child. They are the people dwelling alone, not numbered among the nations. Next chapter. 27 is where we're going next. Now Moses, with the elders of Israel, commanded the people. Who are the people? Are we talking about the lady people? Are we talking about the children people? Are we talking about the servant people? Are we talking about the Ger people? Or are we talking about the Ezra people? We're talking about the Ezra people. He's saying, keep all the commandments which I command ye today. Keep. Okay, what's the keep? The keep is this word right here, shamar. It doesn't say keep. It's about guarding. You know what? If you're a man from Judah, there's certain commandments that you can guard or you can keep. But you're to guard all of them. Some of them don't apply to you. Some of them apply to the priests. They all apply differently, and we have to know the things. But they're all important to us. We're going to guard our Father's Torah. Guess first we got to find out what is the Torah and resolve some of these problems that I'm showing you today in our minds. Protect them. Shamar them. Guard them. But listen, we know who he's talking about right here. He's talking about the people, which it has to be the Ezra, which saying, keep all the commandments which I command you today. And it shall be unto you, it shall be on the day when you cross over the Jordan to the land which Yehovah thy Elohim. Okay, so the people has to be the Ezra, because it's Yehovah thy Elohim is giving you, that ye shall set for yourselves large stones and whitewash them with lime. Okay, he's speaking to the Ezra. He's always speaking to the Ezra. He can't be speaking to our servants because we command our servants. He can't be speaking to the bone of our bone and flesh of our flesh because we command them also. He can't be talking to our kids because we command them. You could argue he's speaking to the ger, but we teach the ger. And at one time, the ger is going to become the Ezra. Okay, it all fits together when we understand it in that context. You shall write on them all the words, we're talking about creating these large stones, whitewashing them. You shall write on them the words of the Torah. When you have crossed over, that you may enter the land which Yehovah your Elohim is giving thee. That Yehovah thy Elohim is giving thee. A land flowing with milk and honey, just as Yehovah Elohim of thy fathers promised thee. Therefore it shall be when you have crossed over the Jordan, that on Mount Ebal, you, now we have the plural you, the plural masculine second person you, shall set up these stones which I command you today, that thou, and I'm going back to singular, that thou shalt whitewash them with lime. Couple things we got to understand. When we cross over, our ladies aren't coming over with us. We saw that in Numbers, that the ladies were all going to stay back home with the children on the other side of the Jordan. It's only men that are crossing over to go across the Jordan. Check it out. Ebal. Let's talk about where Mount Ebal is right now, because it's talking about, therefore it shall be when you have crossed over the Jordan. Okay, we got some things to do when we cross over the Jordan. Let's go there. I put together this for you today. Here's my map. See, now you can see my map on the video. Isn't this cool? You haven't been able to see this before. And I always remember where Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim are, because Carrie reminded me it's always next to Sukkot. And Sukkot is always next to the Jabbok River. When Jacob came down, he crossed the Jabbok River. That's where he met his brother. On the other side is where he met Yehovah. Wrestled with some man. Who was that man? I think it was himself. Well, he crossed from there to Sukkot, and he went to Shechem. Here's Shechem right here. Let me just move that over, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you too. So here is Shechem. Mount Ebal is to the north. Mount Gerizim is to the south. Here, I put together this for you this morning also. Isn't this cool? Here it is. Here's Shechem. This is looking from the water, from the Jordan River. We're far from the Jordan River. It's not to our backs by any means, but it's behind us. The Jordan River is behind us. So we'd be west. There's Shechem in the middle. Remember, Shechem is the city that Levi and Simeon. Levi and Simeon. That's who it was. Thanks, Carrie. So here is Mount Ebal on the right and Mount Gerizim on the left, north and south. Okay, I wanted you to see what we're talking about. They don't have microphones. They're going to be yelling, calling out. Everybody stay quiet now. Want to hear what the priests are saying. Oh, this must have been amazing. Here's all of Israel down on the flatlands here. Probably gathering even into the town. Probably took the town already from the Amorites. So let's now continue reading. We've got a kind of a perspective. Here Here we are. There it is up at the top. Okay. And there you shall build an altar to Yehovah thy Elohim. An altar of stones you shall use. We're going to build it where? On Mount Ebal. It hasn't mentioned Gerizim yet. We're on Mount Ebal. This is the one to the north. And there you shall build an altar to Yehovah thy Elohim, an altar of stones. You shall not use an iron tool on them. Okay, well, that's in agreement with what we've read in Torah. Look at here. This is Exodus 20, 24 through 25. Remember, Exodus 20 is the one that has the Ten Commandments on it. So this is just a continuation from the Ten Commandments. He tells us to build an altar. He says, an altar of earth, thou, masculine, singular, second person, shall make to me. And thou shalt slaughter on it thy olah. Remember, that's the burnt offering. We're going to kill it and we're going to burn it up all on the altar, except for the fur, the skin. And thy shalamim. Okay, the shalamim is the food that we eat. So we're going to kill the shalamim. We're going to put some fat on the altar. We're going to put the blood perhaps on the altar, and the rest of the blood's going to go into the ground. Thy flocks, you shall slaughter on it, thy olah, thy shalamim, thy flocks, and thy cattle. In all the places my name shall be remembered. Remember, we're talking about Exodus 20 right now. In all the places my name shall be remembered, I will come to thee and bless thee. When we do this, we are remembering Yehovah. Do you want to remember Yehovah? We can do this right now. And if you make an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone, for if thou use your tools on it, thou hast profaned it. Well, that's what I wanted you to see. This is an agreement. What did we say here? You shall not use an iron tool on them, the rocks that we're using to build an altar. Again, it's agreeing with the rest of Torah. Makes perfect sense. You shall build with whole stones the altar of Yehovah, your Elohim. Now, look at what it says here. Again, this is the translators that do this. Religious words. You got to escape these religious words. They're going to kill you. They're going to turn you away from Yehovah's eternal and unchanging word, the words of life. Look what it says. It says, you shall offer a... No. Let me go back to 6. You shall build with whole stones the altar of Yehovah, thy Elohim. And now it says in my New King James, and offer burnt offerings on it to Yehovah, your Elohim. Oh, I'm so glad you can see the video now. It's so much better for you to be able to see this video. I want to continue to the next verse because there's pollution in both of these verses. It says, you shall offer a peace offering. That's the New King James saying that. You shall offer peace offerings and shall eat there and rejoice before Yehovah, thy Elohim. Thou shalt offer peace offerings. Oh my gosh, the pollution is incredible in these verses. Let me help you see this. Here's what it says. This is this portion from here to here. This is what it says in the Hebrew. Now, what I have to do in the Hebrew for you to see this is I have to make this a little bit bigger because the first verse is the bottom right verse. So if I open this up, it puts it back into the Hebrew understanding. We're talking about thou And it says, and thou shalt ascend. Ascend. Oh, this is so cool. Allah. What does it say? Ascend. To ascend. Okay, we're sending something up to Yehovah, the sweet aroma. It doesn't say offer. Offer is another word altogether different. There are words that use the word offer. Bring an offering, a korban to Yehovah. But here they use this religious word. This is a religious word, offer. We don't do offerings anymore, don't you know? This is what we get. This is the understanding that we have. They use these words because they want to turn you away from these words. Thou shalt ascend. Olah. Here it is. Oh no, thou shalt ascend from it. This is it. Then it says Olah. Olah. That's the rising. That's the stuff that's going up, the ascending thing. The sweet aroma, the smoke to Yehovah. We're talking about the Olah offering. To Yehovah. This says to. This says Yehovah. This says Elohim. And the last one says thy. To Yehovah. Thy Elohim. Masculine, second person, singular. Each man. He's feeding his family. We're all going to do this. Ugh, I put. First, the translators changed ascent to offer. Then in the next verse, they changed slaughter to offer. Oh my gosh! Look at what they're going to do next. This word right here, offer. Right here, verse 7, you shall offer. It doesn't say offer. It says you shall slaughter shalamim. There's no offerings in either one of these verses. They added these words. Folks, why do they do this? They want to turn you away from Yehovah's eternal and unchanging ways. It's almost like calling evil what's good, turning light into darkness, sweet into bitter. They do it with their words. This does not give us better understandings. This pollutes the scriptures. We were talking about these two verses, Deuteronomy 27, 5 and 6. No, 6 and 7. And we saw that in 6, it was talking about offering burnt offerings. Well, I'm here to tell you that is a religious translation that they don't want you to do. Okay, offerings is a completely added word. It is ascend on it, olah. Ascend on it, the sweet aroma to Yehovah, thy Elohim. The very next verse he says, and you shall send. Okay, I'm sure there's an and there. And, vav. And thou shalt slaughter. Slaughter, they have offer. Well, crud. I hate it when they do that. Thou shalt slaughter. Zavak. Here it is, Zavak. This says and. Well, no, you can't see it. I'm going to say it anyway. The vav says and. The tav at the end says thou shall. You shall. Thou shall send. And then, or thou shalt slaughter. The word there is zavik. Thou shalt slaughter shalamim. Singular, or the plural form of shalem. Okay, they use that as a piece, but it's not peace. It's got nothing to do with peace. It's about the food that we're going to eat. Thou shalt slaughter shalamim, and thou shalt eat. The things that we slaughter are the things that we eat. Wow. It's so unfortunate that we get turned off from understanding our Father's eternal and unchanging ways. This is what we're doing on Mount Ebal. You shall write very plainly on the stones all the words of this law. What words of the law are we talking about? I got a hunch that we're talking about Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and not necessarily Deuteronomy. Then Moses and the priests and the Levites spoke to all Israel. Here, this is Moses and the priests and the Levites speaking to all Israel, saying, "Take heed and listen, O Israel." Who's he talking to? He's talking to the Ezra men. Take heed and listen, O Israel. There's no ladies over here on this side of the river right now. They're all back on the other side of the river. These are the Ezra men who he's given his commandments to. But is it possible that Moses and the priests and the Levites are saying this all at once? Spoke to all Israel, saying, could they all be saying, take heed and listen, O Israel! This day you have become the people of Yehovah, thy Elohim. Can you hear him stretching that voice out across the valley? Therefore you shall obey the voice of Yehovah, your Elohim, and observe his commandments and his statutes, which I command you today. I got it right. And Moses commanded the people. The people. Who are the people that we're talking about? The Ezra men. He says, and Moses commanded the people on the same day, saying, these shall stand on Mount Gerizim. Oh, look at this. Now he's taken all the Ezra men of the tribes of Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Joseph, and Benjamin. 6 sons. Here they are. It's kind of fun to see it like this. This is who we're talking about. He didn't take Reuben. He didn't take Zebulun for some reason. These are the ones that are going to be on Mount Gerizim. So, and the ones in the green here are the ones Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Joseph, and Benjamin. The 2 sons of Rachel are both there. No sons of Bilhah, no sons of Zilpah are going to be on Mount Gerizim. And Reuben and Zebulun are excluded. They're going to be on Mount Ebal with the others. Then it says, and these shall stand on Mount Ebal to curse. To curse. Or to bless the people. To curse. These shall stand on Mount Gerizim to bless the people. When you have crossed over the Jordan. Okay, and again, who's crossing over the Jordan? There's no ladies crossing over the Jordan. There's no children crossing over the Jordan. They're probably servants with them. But these are the Ezra men who are going up. The servants are going to stay down. Probably the Ger are going to stay down as well. Okay, then we have these men, Reuben, Gad, Asher, Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. They're there to curse. These shall stand on Mount Ebal to curse. To curse. Doggone it. What are they cursing? Okay, so then here's what they're going to say. And the Levites shall speak with a loud voice and say to all the men. Here it is. Who are the men? All the Ish. All Israel's Ish. All Israel's men is what it says. Kol Ish Israel, all Israel's men. And the Levites shall speak with a loud voice and say to all Israel's men, cursed is the one who makes a carved or molded image, an abomination to Yehovah, the work of the hands of the craftsmen, and shall set it up in secret. And all the people, who are all the people? All the men, all the Ezra men, all the people shall say, Amen. He goes on. He's got lots of curses, and it's all the people that do it every time. Cursed is the one who treats his father or mother with contempt. Notice many of these are having to do with the first 10 commandments. The third commandment about making images, or second commandment talking about making images. Third commandment, fifth commandment about honoring your mother and your father. Cursed is the one who treats his father and mother with contempt. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed. You know, who's saying these? It says, and the Levites shall speak in a loud voice and say to all the men of Israel. All the Levites have got this synchronized. They're all going to yell out. Cursed is the one who moves his neighbor's landmark. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed is you can say it. Cursed is the one who makes the blind to wander off the road. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed is the one who perverts the justice to a stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. Notice, we've got the stranger and the fatherless and the widow together. How come it's not saying anything about the Levites? No, the Levites not included in that group. Cursed is the one who perverts justice to the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed is the one who lies with his father's woman, because he has uncovered his father's bed. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed is the one who lies with any animal. Okay, this is all Leviticus 18 stuff that we're talking about. Cursed is the one who lies with any kind of animal, and all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed is the one who lies down with his sister, the daughter of his father, or the daughter of his mother, and all the people shall say, Amen. Wow, look at all these are Leviticus 18. Cursed is the one who lies with his mother-in-law, and all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed is the one who attacks his neighbor secretly. That's the one, thou shalt not kill. Cursed is the one who attacks his neighbor secretly, and all the people shall say, Amen. And the last one, 2 ones. Cursed is the one who takes a bribe to slay an innocent person. And all the people shall say, Amen. You know, person. Let's find out what this person is. That's kind of interesting to me that they would say person. Let's see if it does actually say person or if they just made it say person. An innocent nefesh. No, it's person. Yeah, they use fish. Yeah, who taketh, that's probably lakakt, who taketh reward to slay, nakah, to slay, person, a person, okay? Doesn't say a man, it says a person. It could be a lady person, it could be any person. Okay, just curious, got to satisfy that curiosity. And the last one. Cursed is the one who does not confirm all the words of this Torah. And all the people shall say, Amen. Okay, this is what we're talking about. Okay, we are at 12:50. Dare I start the next chapter? I think I will. just to get it started, maybe just the first couple verses. Now keep in mind, it says 28. Now it shall come to pass, if you diligently obey the voice of Yehovah your Elohim, to observe carefully all his commandments, which I command you today. And Yehovah thy Elohim will set thee high above all nations of the earth. Okay, who's he talking to? He's always talking to the Ezra men. But 28 is following verse 27. I think when we're talking about the blessings and the curses in this chapter, because this chapter is all about the blessings and the curses. Okay? Where are we in this chapter? Is it possible that we're right here? Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal? I think we're in exactly the same place. We're just talking about the curses. And notice most of those curses that we just listed are things that get you killed, cut off from Israel. I think that's significant. So 28 is following 27. We're still in exactly the same place. Now it shall come to pass, if you will diligently obey. Who's the you? Okay, he's not talking to the children. The children obey who? Their dad. He's not talking to the servants. The servants obey the master. He's not talking to the women. The women obey their master. Okay, you could argue, I say, he's talking to the ger, but he's not. He's talking to the Ezra. The Ezra are going to teach the ger. They're going to teach it. That's right, Joe, the Ezra men. If you diligently obey the voice of Yehovah, your Elohim, remember that's the context clue. It uses that word twice, 3 times in two verses. Yehovah, your Elohim. Yehovah thy Elohim, to observe carefully all his commandments, which I command thee today, that Yehovah thy Elohim will set you high above the nations. Do you want to be set high above the nations? Do you want to be the great ones in the earth? Do you want to be the ones who the kings and the queens come and kiss your feet? Because that's what's going to happen in the last day, because those who will lay down their life in service to Yehovah are going to be the great ones. And those who want to be the great ones right now are going to be the losers. They're going to be the ones who are probably not even going to make it into the kingdom. They're going to be destroyed. The Elohim of the earth, they won't humble themselves. Some will. Most won't. A few will. It says, all these blessings, if you will do this, if you will keep all the commandments, it says, all these blessings shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Wow, getting overtaken by blessings. Does that sound like a good thing to you? Because thou obey the voice of Yehovah thy Elohim. Okay, well, I'm going to stop here. This has been a rough morning. Sorry about that. I'll complain to the management again about this. I'm sorry that happened, but life goes on. I did get a good recording of it, so I'll be able to edit it. It'll be a little bit shorter than last week, but by the time it's edited, you'll be able to follow along very easily, and it'll have the pictures and everything else along with it, so I think that's really fun. Yeah, in fact, the pictures are probably going to be better than you saw it, and the map is going to be better than you saw it because it's taken right off my desktop when it's recorded. So it should be really pretty. Okay, well, I've given you some very controversial ideas this morning. And again, I haven't got those settled in my mind completely. But my thinking, I did give to you. So kind of take that with a grain of salt. we can only do what we can. We have to work it out. There's many things. This is part of what does it talk about? Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal. Then the world, practically everybody else who says they're Yehovah's people, believes that the Torah is the first 5 books. Well, I've always kind of felt that way, but when I start hearing this stuff about book covers and not having a book cover that's not included with the rest of the book, well, that troubles me. Every book I've ever read had the book attached to the last chapter, or had the cover attached to the last chapter, didn't it? Well, not this book. I think that's important. And again, we just see so many controversial things in Deuteronomy, just over and over. So many chapters we've had problems with, large portions of some of these chapters, not just a word or two here and there, like some of the other places in the Torah, but significant portions we've seen big problems with. Okay, well, thank you for joining me. Sorry we had some snares. We lost some people as a result of it. That's a shame. I'm really sad to see that. We had 15 people on the call when we started having those problems, and bless your hearts, you stuck with me. Thank you. Okay, well, very good. All right, well, let's call it quits. We will talk to you next week. I'm doing the 144,000, the Virgin of Israel, on Friday nights. And next week, we're going to do the blessings and the curses. Oh, we have so much to look forward to. I can't wait to live in a kingdom where a man gets blessed for doing Torah and sees others cursed for not doing it. It's been too long the other way around. Even David was irritated with it. Why do the wicked prosper, he said? Well, that's not always going to be. Soon, and very soon, we are going to see Yehovah raise his kingdom physically in the earth. Oh, it's going to be a glorious day. He's going to deliver many from their Egypt, their Babylon. All right. Well, love you tons. We'll talk to you all next week. Catch y'all later.